yeah. So everybody's doing well. That's awesome. So we'll just get started. So what I wanted to do is talk about qualifying the income, qualifying the buyer. Oh, excuse me, the borrower. How many of you, when the borrower has commission and bonuses or overtime, how many of you deal with that? How do you guys deal with that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it depends on what it looks like. I mean, usually you would, I guess, average that out for the 12 months or the 24 months.
You're on the right track. Believe it or not, there's been many LOs that would just take the overtime or commission or bonus income right in front of them, and they would just use that number instead of like averaging. So what I wanted to point out is when it comes to when you're looking at a paycheck stub, the best and most conservative way to calculate bonuses, commission, or overtime, what you want to do is when you're talking with your borrowers before they're starting to send you all the documentation, just tell them, do you earn bonuses, commission, or do you do overtime? In most cases, most borrowers today do that. Yeah, the answer is yes, in most cases, along with their base income. So here's my suggestion. When you're getting the income documentation, so we're in January 2022. You want to ask the borrower for the very last paycheck stub for 2020 and the very last paycheck stub for 2021. Not just the W-2, and I will tell you why. The W-2 doesn't break it down. The W-2 just tells everybody, hey, this is how much you made that year. Here you go. You know, 200,000, 300,000, whatever the magic number is. Where I'm going with the very last two paycheck stubs, assuming that they are, you know, at the end of December, they'll show the year-to-date for overtime, the year-to-date for bonuses, commission, and base pay, and things like that, along with other pay. You know, some companies, like if you're dealing with a pilot or a flight attendant, they have a lot of variable pay. And sometimes there's like 5 to 10 of them, and you have to break it down to each one of them. So where I'm going with the last two paycheck stub, you're going to pretty much add up the bonuses, you're going to add up the commission each by itself, and then you'll divide it by 24 because we're in January. So that makes it easy. You'll divide it by 24, you'll use that magic number for the bonuses separately for commission. Overtime, yeah, you'll do the same thing. The tricky part with overtime is that in most cases, if there's overtime, the underwriter may request a full verification of employment from the employer if the underwriter warrants it. If it's going to be like a VA or FHA, for sure, in most cases they will ask for it, but conventional, it's like hit and miss. Have you guys heard of the work number or Equifax in terms of income verification?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's electronic. So Caliber, for example, wait a minute. Yes, Caliber, for example, they offer that free service to all of you guys, to all their brokers. So even if you're not going to use Caliber, you can just log in and register to run or whatever, or register to file, and you'll be able to get that information. What's really cool is you just log into the system, and of course, their social security number, the full person's name, full name, and so forth, date of birth. There's a radio button that you click, income verification electronically, and many employers subscribe to it because they don't want people bothering their HR department for full written verification. So you will log into it, instant verification. You'll get it like within a minute, maybe less, if they're subscribed to it. That information will come back and it will tell you how much they made that year, how much. They'll tell you a lot about the customer. Sometimes it doesn't tell you everything, but it will help you very much, and it's free service as far as I know. Going back to the income breakdown, when it comes to the base pay, that's straightforward. are they making $25 an hour, or are they making $200,000 a year? In terms of base pay. You just have to make sure that, you question the borrower as much as you can, so that way you can get all the numbers, tweaked in. I will guarantee you that once you turn in that file to underwriting, they will tweak it. No matter what you do, no matter how you do your calculation, every underwriter is different. They're going to calculate it differently. If you do it right, conservative, in most cases, you should be within range. But sometimes an underwriter will say, oh, okay, they're no longer getting overtime. They're going to take that income out. You just got to remember to ask your client, hey, are you still getting overtime? When was the last time you did overtime? If the customer goes, oh, yeah, I haven't done overtime in 3 months, 4 months, that might be questionable. If something's questionable, maybe it's better off to leave out the overtime and see if you can qualify the borrower without the overtime. Another example, when it comes to bonuses or commission, let's say they got it in, it's got to be 2 years straight in order to use the overtime income, commission, and bonuses. But let's just say they started receiving it 2 years ago and they stopped receiving it. I guarantee the underwriter most likely it's going to take it out. If there is like a huge gap in between, like overtime or any kind of a variable income, they're going to take it away. So, as a loan officer, think what underwriter might do. If you're not sure, it doesn't hurt to talk to a underwriter. Just paint a picture to them. Say, hey, I guess one borrower with this income and it's kind of iffy. This is what the income is looking like. And they'll tell you whether it's going to be iffy, or they'll tell you, oh, no, yeah, we can't use it per FHA or VA or conventional. They'll point blank tell you. Any questions so far regarding to what I just talked about?
No. Paul, the other thing that last paycheck of the year works out to be good for is basically almost like a faster, quick shot of a VOE, because a lot of times, they're just looking for documentation of that information, and you don't have to clarify from the employer that there is overtime or there is bonuses, or like I just did one of these and use this exact example as you're saying, to prove that the borrower was getting $800 every 12 months or every month for gas reimbursement. I mean, we couldn't get to his employer fast enough, but we were able to just use that document and show him right there that it had totaled the $9,600 for the year.
So you're saying, in my understanding, you're saying that the underwriter approved whatever documentation that you gave him to show that they're getting gas reimbursement, they're using that as income? Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct. So he had part of his income, his base pay was $9,000, and he had about $3,200 of bonuses and gas reimbursement. Now his bonuses, what was interesting about this particular borrower where this comes into play, like you're saying, is his bonuses were guaranteed, but totally random. Like the first one came in February, the second one came in June, the third one came in July, and then he didn't get anything until right up at the end of December. He had a track record of showing that he was going to probably get, upwards of $30,000, but the evidence wasn't there until we looked at that last paycheck. And so it allowed him, but at the same time, we were trying to include this $800 of what was a gas reimbursement. So by looking at that document, it just literally laid it out, and it showed it, $800 for this month, $96 for the year to date. So It's just a really, really simple way to you still might have to get the BOE, but it's a very good step.
Right.
to push it along.
Right. You're absolutely right. And like I said, every scenario and every case is different. Like your scenario that you gave, hit bonuses, but it sounded like it was pretty much spread out. Many borrowers will only get bonuses like once a year. So everybody is different. Now the gas reimbursement, and to be honest with you, this is the first I've heard that you were able to do something about the gas reimbursement, and that's a very interesting scenario because those are really hard to get by unless you really can document it or prove it.
Right. And I think that was it, is we got lucky that it was tracked exactly that way. And it was,
But
I mean, there's just no way to there's no way to dispute it, I guess, when it literally says gas reimbursement on this particular thing. So it was tagged accordingly that benefited us that time.
was it an FHA?
Nope, conventional.
Oh, maybe. Okay. Wow, that's amazing. Cool. Um,
And
it
who's the
would be
lender on it?
interesting if that was FHA. I would be interested in knowing if it was an FHA, if it flew. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
FHA is more pickier.
Right.
Okay, so 1099 and W-2. Those are the two tricky parts, two different tricky pay that I'm hearing that can be confusing. And I just want to put out there and clarify, anytime something's a 1099, obviously that's a Schedule C. Point blank is easy, it's on a Schedule C. And my number one challenge that I deal with people, when I'm talking to them over the phone, if they're self-employed, oh yeah, I make $300,000, blah blah blah. What's my debt income ratio? That's an open book. You really can't paint a picture to a client and tell them this is what could be your loan amount on a debt income ratio if they're trying to project their potential purchase price. The best thing that you could do is get the tax return, because gross is going to be completely different than the actual net when it comes down to after all the deductions, expenses. In fact, it could actually hurt them that they may only qualify. Believe it or not, you have people who make millions and they're like down in the tax return, maybe 100,000. But wait a minute, it says right there, $1 million, 100,000. What do you mean I can only qualify for a $40,000 loan? You can't buy a house with that thing. Maybe a shed, and that's it. People don't understand, when you're filing taxes, you're telling the government this is how much money and expenses you have. Here you go. They want to pay less taxes. But when it comes to the mortgages, you're hurting your ability to get a loan that you want to get. And I guess I want to say that everybody is different when it comes to that. I don't know if this could be true. You tell the government all the income you can get and less expenses, and then you qualify more for a mortgage. I've seen that happen quite a bit. I've also seen people who would they would amend their tax returns to revise their Schedule C so they could qualify for a mortgage. I have seen that left and right. I've also seen people who try to do that and later they get audited and they got in a lot of hot water for that. So as a licensed loan officer, when people start questioning, so what do I need to do to my tax returns to make me qualify? Just be really, really careful what you say or do, because that can really put you in a lot of hot water. Trust me on that. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Can you elaborate?
Was that Paul?
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Okay. So Paul, you call me, you're a buyer, you say, hey, I want to buy this $1 million house. But my tax return from the other loan officer just tells me I can't qualify, but I make all this money. I don't understand. And I tell you, well, Paul, if you amend your tax returns, you go to your tax preparer and you change your tax, your numbers, your deductions. So Schedule C, I'm assuming that you've seen it, the Schedule C, whatever income, which is say 5,000, and then after all your expenses and your deduction, and then down at the bottom, we'll say, for example, maybe your net income, I don't know, 50,000 or 80,000, whatever that magic number is, substantially a lot less, so you can pay less taxes. Okay, you follow me, right? So you're not going to pay taxes on 500,000, but you're going to pay taxes on 80,000. Okay, so now underwriters will look at the $80,000 income. They're not going to look at the other income. And you tell me, Paul, what do I need to do? And I tell you, well, you need to revise your Schedule C, get rid of some expenses, bring up that $80,000 to whatever that number is to get you to qualify. Anytime you amend your tax return, the IRS will go after anybody who might be involved. And because we're all licensed, what I'm saying is you want to be really extra careful that you don't want to get involved in that.
Okay.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
But you can look at the Schedule C and add back the interest, the depreciation, the amortization. You can also add back any compensation that the actual owner, if he's a sole prop or even if he's a sub S corp to himself and he's got 100%, you can add that back. In addition to that, if you see travel expense on there and entertainment and meals, and the guy has a little shop and he's not traveling anywhere, but it's just a write-off, the banks may consider, I don't know, I haven't come across it yet because I've done W-2, but on business loans, they'll if you make an explanation and look, and there's no travel needed for this guy that works out of a little card store or something, right? I mean, he's not traveling anywhere. So those are the things you can add back at least and talk with the with whoever you're talking with at the bank, at the lender.
Right, you're absolutely right. You can definitely add back, depreciation, amortization. You can add back a lot of stuff. And since you brought up the travel stuff, that's like hit and miss, depending on the borrower, depending what they do, depending what the scenario is looking like, whether they could add it or disregard it or what have you.
One second on that, Paul, because that wouldn't, the money spent on travel, where would that show that a underwriter was looking at?
That will show up, well, on the Schedule C, it will give you like a total. But
Okay, we're talking about the taxes.
Right, but if you look at a Schedule C, it's going to tell you, look at page, I forget what it was, like page 15 or 12, and you go to that page, and it's like a one-page document, depending how many deductions are there. It's going to show the breakdown, the mileage. It's going to show everything related to that, and the underwriter will actually see it there.
It's just under other exhibit. It's under other exhibit. It'll say where another page. It won't tell you exactly what page to go on, but most of the tax returns will just send you to see Exhibit A or Exhibit 2 or whatever, however.
Exhibit.
Right. Exhibit.
Right. No, you're right.
But I think we wouldn't use that to qualify. I mean, that's just like worst case scenario. The underwriter took some income away from us, and we're just trying to, dig in to see how can we come back to where we were, but not really to look for all of that to be able to qualify you, for the purchase of a home.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that one more time?
No, but what I was trying to say is that income of the travel and the other stuff, I don't think that it's, for us to use to qualify a customer to say, oh, you qualify for 600,000 with all of that income. I think that's just in case we really need it and the underwriter has cut that income, then we could kind of dig for that to be able to come back up to where we were before.
Gotcha. Yeah, it depends on the underwriter too. Every underwriter is different, depending on the file and the scenario itself. So the one thing before I forget, I will tell you. I told you about Caliber and their electronic verification system. Now I want to tell you about UWM. This is what I hear from across the board. I don't know if any of you have experienced the same thing. If you have a complex file, let me back up. If you have a file with complex income, or self-employed, I'm understanding that UWM don't always have their ducks in order for self-employed or strange income file. Have any of you experienced that? And if so, what's your experience? No?
Nothing that sticks out at the moment, Paul.
What's that?
I said nothing that I've heard of from that. But UWM does definitely seem to be, hands off in that scenario or in just about anything. They just seem to be set up. They have some stuff that's pretty far advanced, but I think they want to look at the documentation that the LO submits, and they want to make their decision on that, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, it's like I said, it depends on the file, depends on the bar. It's like my understanding is that if they want the file, they'll take it. That's the bottom line, especially when it comes to self-employed. The most experience that I experienced with self-employed or strange income files is Caliber. But I don't always use Caliber because their pricing is not always competitive. But they're pretty lenient when it comes to that. Have any of you experienced self-employed with Caliber? Any issues there?
We're just starting to use Caliber. I think we just started kind of submitting our first couple loans with them. So
okay.
We'll see,
Yeah.
I guess.
I thought you had Caliber this whole time. I didn't realize.
Well, we've had an approval with them for a year, I guess a year now, but no one's really put anything through with them. I think Ruben did one a while back, but
I just closed one over there, purchase.
Yeah, Paul's got a couple or one or two, right?
Yeah. And my client, because he's a union guy and he's all over the board. I mean, he's had, I think, 9 jobs in the last two years. They made us go back 2 years because he's part of the union. So, I mean, once 3 months is up, they're at a different company. They have a month break, then he's back. I mean, they put me through the ringer, but they approved it.
Nice. That's pretty good.
Yeah, with the union, I mean, a lot of people don't work with union guys, but if they're part of the union hall and stuff like that, I mean, it's really crazy how they work stuff. And so, I mean, you literally have to have verification of employment for everybody for the last 2 years.
Right. Hey, Paul, I want to just stop for a second and go back to what Dean had talked about adding all those different
go for it.
pieces of income into the loan to qualify. And if what I just wanted to make sure, and I want you to confirm, Paul, is that anything that you do add back in like that for purchase to create purchasing power has to be taken back out on the back end to calculate the DTI. All of that stuff. So anything that's like any type of like non-tax stuff that you're trying to gross up the file has to come back out on the backside.
You're talking about which part are you talking about? Just trying to.
So like if you're like if part of that income was, let's say if it was a retirement income of $1,000 a month, that would be, you could gross that up to $1,200 a month, but for purchasing power, but you have to, for creating DTI, monthly DTI, you can only use the 1,000. This happens, and maybe this happens more with VA borrowers, things like that, because you're able to do that with they get like, food allowance, which is non-taxed.
Oh yeah.
Housing allowance, which is non-taxed, things like that. But any type of grossing up, like what you're talking about, you got to pull it back out.
Oh yeah, I mean, VA is a whole different file. To be honest with you, it's like completely different.
Okay.
But now, since you brought up grossing, I'm gonna touch base on that. So because everybody, if you don't know anything about grossing, let me just touch that base. So Social Security, for example, let's say you get a borrower that's collecting SSDI. Okay, this is just an example. If SSDI is not claimed on the tax return, it's not claimed on the tax return, you can gross it up. If it's claimed on a tax return, you can't gross it up. Now, let's go to VA. If the VA borrower is getting, what do you call it? Disability income.
Yep.
You can gross it up. Because it's not taxable, my understanding. I haven't seen it
Correct.
taxable. So, any kind of a,
We're going.
hang on. Okay. Have a good day at school.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye. Any kind of a disability, SSA, those are like hit and miss. So not every one of them you can gross up, or maybe you can either gross up or you can't gross up. It really depends on the tax return. Really depends on the borrower. You definitely want to be careful there. There was another point that you brought up, Andrew. I'm trying to remember what it was. Grossing up.
Let's only talk about it if it was a good one.
Right. Oh yeah. No. Yeah. No. Absolutely. So, if you're not sure about whether something you can gross up or not, you could do two things. And believe it or not, if you Google something, just be real careful. If you type in Google and you type in, can you gross up, for example, a VA disability? You know, obviously in most cases, Google is going to give you an answer directly. But you don't want to use Google for everything. You'll want to like definitely email an underwriter scenario desk and just double check or look at the guideline. Because it's like, okay, yeah, you can do it, but what if? You have to look at the what if scenario. So let's go back to the commission and bonuses. Something I want to point out. FHA. We're in 2022, so let's just say this borrower in 2020 received a $100,000 bonus, for example. But last year, 2021, his bonus was $50,000. The underwriter is not going to use it. If the bonus is declining, I believe it's 20%. I could be wrong. But if it's declining more than 20%, you can't use that bonus. So there's a lot of variation besides the income, what you can do, what you cannot do.
That's the same though with actually self-employed income. Forgetting any bonus, just if there's money. If you, I'm trying right now to do two. I never worked with Caliber before, and so maybe you have with this. I'm trying to do two bank statement loans. I put them both in within a day of each other. I got information back on one of them, so they said we're not going to even use the income because his business has gone down like 30%. And it's like, well, I have a reason why it made sense, but I have another business I can use that he has, so I'll throw that one in and we'll have plenty of money. And the only issue was in 2020, because of COVID, he as a professional BMX does school events all across the country. So he, he was getting the PPP, couldn't really, the schools were closed. So now in the last 5 months, he made 100 grand. So they said, well, we can't use a 24-month statement. We have to use, the program because he doesn't have income from the prior year. So we have to use a 12-month statement. It's going to cost more. But in general, I did have a question to anybody who's worked with Caliber. What has your experience been? Because I'm not really impressed because one of the, I did two applications, two scenarios to try to get two of them done. The other one is a slam dunk as far as I can see, and they never sent it in. So I've lost a week. And I'm thinking maybe they're overloaded there or what have you, but I don't know what to expect. But if I'm told by somebody I'm going to have something in 3 days and I'm promising the borrower 3 or 4 days, it's now been 8 days until I even get any information.
Well, I will
Thank
tell
you.
you that I used to work at Caliber Retail for a few years.
Uh-huh.
Just in general, retail, wholesale, whatever it is. Caliber, they're underwriting. They're very experienced people. Okay, they're very experienced people. They can underwrite. They could look at scenarios. Their systems are usually good. But because Caliber was recently bought out, I don't know if you noticed, they were bought out by Nubes. Is that right, Chuck? Was it Nubes? Or
I don't know. I just started using them 2 weeks
That
ago. I
sounds
never
right.
used them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then now they're going to be merging the two companies into a new company called I don't remember, something financial. I forget what it was called. So I don't think Caliber is going to be the same company that what they used to be, because Nubes, my understanding that they are poorly ran. So when they bought Caliber, they're using their stuff. So I don't know, I don't have all that information, but yeah, I just want to throw it out there. I don't know what's going to
So
happen.
who do you recommend then for bank statement loans? Because I now started putting the word out a little bit. I have two. I have the potential to bring more than a couple in because I'm associated with a large franchise company, and a number of the people would be fine to be able to borrow without having to go through the proctologist's exam of doing a self-employed income, where instead they just send in statements and they can show plenty of income. And I just even let them use the 50% mark, which is great, the 50% expense ratio. So I think it's a cheap trade-off if it's less than 0.5% and they want to borrow money, because they can use the money for whatever they like. And it's a lot cheaper than an SBA loan. So it seems to me like a real nice opportunity if I can find somebody that you think would be the right company. I'm not as concerned what the commission is, whether it's 1.5 or 2.0. I want to be able to take care of the client on these kind of loans.
So, real quick, Dean, were you on the call last week with Robert?
Yes.
I would reach out to him at Home Express. I've talked to him about two deals I have,
Okay.
and honestly, all he wanted he wanted the articles of incorporation and the guy in 24 months of bank statements, and he's like, no problem.
The only thing that so far I've never charged anyone a commission, so I like if it's lender paid, just because I know a lot of these people, and it would just
Sure.
be an easier sell.
It is lender. You can do lender paid. It is I think we're set up at 2%. Is that correct, Travis? With those guys, I think it's at 2%. There's no cap on what you can. I mean, when he was discussing his program, I was thinking of you right there. Like I mean, from what we talked about 2 weeks ago. That's
Right. Well,
that's the guy you need to call.
That was on the 18th. I was on with that one, and I have in bold because I take some notes. And I thought I heard him say it's all borrowed paid commission only. But if you think it is also lender paid, I'll give him a call 2 hours from now when I get off my next call.
Yeah,
So
give him a call.
Maybe we can get Darren to pipe in on this if he's on,
there.
but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he's able to talk, because
Yeah, I'm here. I could talk.
Yeah. So what's your experience with that on their product on this, with the lender paid?
So I'm not sure about the lender paid part. I have a bank statement loan submitted right now through Robert, but that's all borrower paid. So, I mean, I could text him right now and he'll get back to me really quick. But I do know their bank statement program is very solid, and they have pretty decent rates as well. And he usually gets underwriting approvals within 2 days tops, so 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
But let me text him right now. I'll ask him about the lender paid. Give me 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I think because it seems like there was a little confusion on that when we did the webinar with him on, it sounded like maybe some of it was borrower pay, but certain programs weren't or something. So if we can get a little clarity on that, that might help Dean out.
That would be awesome. I mean, if it's lender paid for bank statements, I'm all over it today.
Yeah.
Tonight. It's actually nighttime here. So yeah.
Yeah. Dean's in France.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it living the dream. I mean, we'll talk about that later, but okay.
Yeah.
But the food and the wine are great, so I'm drinking wine every night.
Yeah.
So, Dean, what program were you talking about?
Bank statement, the 24 months.
Okay. Do you guys have like Home Express or A&D or
What?
any of those? What's that?
What is it? A Home Express with two?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are you
Yeah,
agree with the-
yeah, his name's Robert.
Oh, that one.
Oh, you are, okay. Yeah, I hear Home Express is really good. I haven't used them, but you should just talk to them. I mean, if you need to. A&D, I'm sure Home Express has the same thing. A&D Mortgage has a if you're not really sure, but you know, when you're looking at bank statement loans, most loan officers don't know. We don't know what we're looking at because the underwriter can change. Oh no, you can't use that, or you can't use this number or whatever. And you can check Home Express or some of the other bank statement program on the website. You can actually upload, if you like create like a little file number, and you can actually upload the bank statement, like 12 months, 24 months, whatever it is. You upload it to the website, and within 24 hours, they'll send you an answer what's the average income that they'll be able to use based on the bank statement that you provided. And that helped me last summer when I was utilizing a bank statement program, because I didn't. It's been years since I've done it, and everything changed. So you could also try that as well.
Yes, A and D. You said A and D.
Yeah, A and Apple, and then with
Oh.
a symbol and then D and dog mortgage.
Well, I don't know if we're hooked up with them. I don't.
We're not.
Oh, we're not. Okay.
Yeah, they're
Well,
based
I
out of
like
Texas.
using, this company is called Accelerated Capital, and for the same reason that you mentioned, all I do is I collect everything from the client, the 24 months bank statements. I send it over to him. He submits it over to his department, and then the next day he says, "Hey, Alex, use $10,000 a month," and so that's the income that I'll use for it. But going back to a comment that I heard earlier, we are all self-employed, and when we meet other self-employed people that got corporations and whatnot, and they're doing this type of loan, don't be afraid to make your money. I mean, they make their money. This is what they do every day. They're business people. So when we're doing our stuff, let's not throw ourselves to the floor. You know, it's like, hey, if it's a 5%, it's a 5%. If it's 5.5, it's a 5.5. Because my comp is 2% or 2.5, whatever it is. I'm very upfront with my clients, and I let them know it's gonna be a 24-month bank statements, meaning that, hey, you take advantage of not reporting all your money and not paying your taxes, but you're gonna pay it on this side, and it will cost you money.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I told my client also, you know, it's a $1.3 million loan, but we're still doing 2% because we qualified them up to $25,000 a month of income that we could use from their bank statements. And no other lender was willing to do that. But, you know, they're going to pay for that. So, and I just got off the phone with Robert, and he said, yes, he could do lender paid up to 2% on bank statement deals.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that,
Yeah,
Darren.
thanks, Darren.
No problem. And he also
Hey,
said if you want to,
that was me. I remembered that.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Travis.
He did
Thank you,
also say,
I didn't sue you.
he also did say that if you do want to go borrower paid, he could roll those points into the loan amount if the LTV is low enough. So
Maybe that was where we got confused that he was talking about.
Right.
Okay.
And that sounds like a normal way to use borrower paid if you wanted to give a credit of some sort or help them buy down the rate a little bit. Which I would think, Dean, that would be where your guys, I mean, that's a conversation you might have with your clients, because you do have such tight relationships with them, is, hey, here's, you know what, I am being paid 2%. And if you're accepting less, show them how you can, you know, help them a little bit. Go, look, it's, you know, the rate's this, I can help you a little bit, get it down a couple points, if that's what you want to do.
Right. Okay, that's good. That's good. I will definitely reach out to Robert soon.
So, Travis, that's all I have for today. I didn't want to throw too much on the income, but I have to say that this is the most engaging Zoom that I've had with you guys, and that's pretty good. The more we engage, the more information we get. That's what I do. That's what I love, and I think that I'm hoping that, you know, whatever meetings that you guys have every Tuesday or whatever, it's in my hope that you guys keep engaging, because the more you engage, the more you uplift each other, and you hear all kinds of stuff, and, oh, you can do it this way or that way, or I didn't know it this way, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I fully agree. I appreciate you guys piping in and telling scenarios and what you're experiencing out there, because it really does help everybody. So
Yeah.
Cool.
Paul, is there a way you could create a bit of some type of a small matrix that we could keep in the back office that just as a quick reference guide, that kind of talks about the basics of this?
The income stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'll do? I'll see what I can find,
Okay.
and I'll send it to Travis. Give me some time. I'll dig up something and some kind of reference guide where you all can reference, because income is a very big issue, and
Right.
it could be good, it could be bad, and you want to definitely get it all vetted out at the beginning, so that way your borrower can go buy a house and not get into escrow, and then you have this underwriter take out this $100,000 income. You're like, oh crap.
Can I add something to that? So if you're going to do a matrix, or whoever, maybe everybody can just add to it. So if you're going to do like the bank statement loan, we list the 2 or 3 companies that have the best, everyone has the best experience with. So we have like, all right, we don't have to use them, but we can look at those first. So maybe it's like the 2 companies are X and their commissions are 1.5, 2, whatever it is, and that they're good to work with. Then like I have a jumbo loan coming up in 2 months. So I was definitely going to use UWM, but they're capped at $30,000 and it's 1.75. Well, it doesn't matter. It's capped at 30,000. And I'm thinking, I left about 10 grand on the table last time. Why should I do that this time? If I can, get a good rate for my client and still make a little bit of money, more money, 10 grand is like doing another deal or 2, possibly. So I wouldn't mind knowing who there is, but also someone that's good to work with, because I understand that I've experienced and not everybody's the best to work with all the time. You want to have somebody that will be a little patient, that will try to work with you and it's not trying to just treat with respect. Let's call that.
You have to understand, I don't know if any of you have been to UWM, but they have 4 stories of underwriters. And
4 stories?
I get the impression that's all they want is W-2, so everything can fly by real fast. They don't want anything complicated. But the beauty of being a broker is, like for me, I have Caliber, GMG, UWM, and I go, okay, something wrong with the file. Is it pricing sensitive? Which direction do I send it to? Or is this going to be a DSCR? Have any of you done a DSCR?
Not yet. Well, I haven't, no.
Yes, I have. I've done it with Robert actually at Home Express. He's got a really good DSCR program as well.
Okay. Yeah, maybe
Love him.
next time. Have you heard of Nina 10 years ago, Travis?
Who?
Nina and
No income, no asset.
No, yeah.
kind of similar, but it's not. Yeah.
Well, this
Love
one's
that loan.
DSCRs, yeah.
I remember that loan.
DSCR is just for investment properties. They will go to 85% LTV and they use the rent rolls pretty much from the appraisal. Whatever the appraiser says the market value of rents are, they want that to equal what your mortgage payment is going to be, PITI on a 1-to-1 ratio. As long as it covers that, then you pretty much qualify as long as you have the right credit score. So,
right.
Yeah. So that's actually, I was just talking with Robert about that, and their program's super simple. Basically, I have a property owner that has a condo in somewhere in Orange County. She hasn't lived in it it's been rented for like 10 years. She has no job. She's just like an at-home wife, but it's her sole property. And I was like, what can we do? Can we refi this? And he said, sure. All I want to know is what the rent is in the area, what she's receiving, and take care of it. And it's that simple. It has to be for rental or for a property that's not a primary or anything like that. But I mean, this is a person that has no income other than the rent.
Well, yeah, you're right. It has to be for a rental. However, they're not going to make you rent the property out. What they're going to do, like somebody said, I think it was Darren, they're going to use them if there's no lease contract anywhere in the surface, they're going to have the appraiser do the market valuation for the rental in the area.
Correct.
So some people will get creative. Well, if I can't find a primary home loan the way I want it to be, some people, I might just go to the DSCR if they can go that route. But yeah, you're right.
How much more are the rates on the DSCRs? Like compared to
Great question, Dean. Actually, for Robert's program, he specifically said that today they're at 3.99, but they're being pushed up. And a unique thing about his program was that you cannot buy down the rate in any fashion. It is what it is, and that's it. And he said it's going up. But today it's 3.9. I think, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Paul.
No, that's great. I mean, thanks.
Oh, 3.99 is a good rate. You know, you want to know that how many points, or is that going to be lender paid? That could be borrower paid. You have all these variables. I don't remember what the file I closed on in October, what it was. I think I ended up doing like a 0 point loan. It was like 5 something for 0 points. But yeah, it depends on the scenario, you know.
Yeah, 399 is really the floor. I've never
yeah.
experienced that low on a DSCR deal. It's like it has to be like the most perfect file to get that rate. I'm usually closing them anywhere between like 4.5 as high as 599, because it is, you know, it's a riskier loan because you're not showing income at all, and it's for investment property. So
Right.
All right. So any questions?
I just have one quick one going back to a comment from Dean, which actually Paul Coronado brought up about a week ago on a conversation about, I guess, sharing notes on some of these lenders and AEs that we have. Is that something you guys would be interested in if we had a little doc that we can just add in the back office under each one of the lender approvals that we have for notes as to, you know, hey, lender, you know, I don't know, AE never answers the phone, or, you know, doesn't know what he's doing, or, you know, I put this loan through and went well with this scenario. Like, is that something you guys are interested in? Because I can set that up pretty easily for
Yes.
everybody to make some notes as they go if they want, to just share with their experiences with some of these wholesalers.
As long as you don't send out the recording of it to them.
Well, let me add to what Travis is saying. We have something very similar. We have a spreadsheet with the loan company, and then we have these columns, what they do, what they don't do, and then as far as service levels, we color them like red, green, yellow. So as a broker, I think that's a great idea, Travis. I think you should have some kind of a system, so that way a lot of you can access it to it. You know, you access to it and you see what program, what you need to match them up with. And then you're like, oh, if it's, say, for example, new bed on our books, new beds is red right now. Their service levels, excuse my French, sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have a purchase? Do you really want to push a purchase through a new bed? You know, you have to like get a little creative on that.
I think I've been thinking about how to do that in our back office, and I think I have an idea. So if you guys are interested in that, I can at least put it in place. And if you use it, you use it. Obviously, it's a collaboration thing. So, you know,
That'd
the
be
more
great.
people,
Great.
yeah. Okay.
Thumbs up.
All right. I can put that in place.
Okay, guys. Well, I will see you guys and gals next time. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks a lot.
Paul.
Thanks for coming on.
thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye.
See you. Have a good day.
You too.